Here in the United States, we are familiar with a particular kind of yoga. You'll find yoga studios all over the place. You'll find gyms. You'll even find some of our PE classes probably offering yoga, kind of a stretching yoga. That is Hatha Yoga. And it is a path to God. It's a way to God through the body. Among Hindu people, Hatha Yoga focuses on seeking precision and control of the body. In the West, the focus tends to be to build strength or flexibility in the body, and even a focus on physical beauty. Originally, this kind of yoga was practiced as a preliminary to the spiritual yogas that we're going to be looking at today. The 4 yogas, or paths to God, are practical-minded systems of thought and training that are designed to bring a practitioner to God or to Brahman, to help that person become more identified with God and living out of that identification, to actually discover one's own divinity, that one already is Brahman, even while living on earth. Jnana Yoga is the way to God through knowledge, Bhakti, the way through loving devotion, Karma, the way through works, and Raja is the way to God through psychophysical exercises. Now, the first step in pursuing any of these yogas is to cultivate good moral habits and to develop a compelling desire to reach the goal, which is to awaken to one's own divinity. Jnana Yoga, the way to God through knowledge, is not so much about factual information as it is intuitive discernment. It's a lot like what the Greeks called Sophia, wisdom, or gnosis, knowledge. It's that deep inner knowledge. And this particular yoga is generally draws people who are thinkers or philosophers. The 3 stages that a person pursuing Jnana Yoga tends to go through is first learning from sages, from wise ones, and then thinking and reflecting upon what one has learned from those sages. And then that leads a person to shift their self-identification from their personality, what the world sees, what they generally know as themselves, to their true self, to the Atman. Bhakti Yoga, the way to God through loving devotion, tends to draw people who are emotional, have strong emotional centers. Often the person who is on this path sees God as other, doesn't so much identify as Brahman, as God in the world, but rather thinks of God as someone or something other to which that person is devoted. So a person pursuing Bhakti Yoga strives to adore God with every element of their being. They love God dearly, they love God only, and they love God for no ulterior motive. They're not trying to achieve moksha or heaven by loving God. They simply are in love with God. Karma Yoga, or the way to God through work, tends to draw very active people, tactile people, people who like movement, who like using their bodies. They offer selfless service with no attachment to the outcome. Like the Bhakti Yoga practitioner, they're not doing this work in order to earn merit, but rather because it's what's in them to do. They want to serve with their bodies. Of course, there's all sorts of work that needs to be done in the world and different kinds of work that people are drawn to, but often the practitioners of Karma Yoga approach work either intellectually, so very much thinking about what they're doing, as in Jnana Yoga, or approaching that work with a spirit of love, very much like a practitioner of Bhakti. Raja Yoga is the way to God through psychophysical exercises, or exercises that explore and use the mind as well as the body. Tends to draw people of a scientific bent, but the experiments that this scientific person does is on one's own mind. The theory that a person who is pursuing Raja Yoga is putting to the test is that a human is a layered entity, a body, a conscious mind, an individual subconscious, and then being itself, this infinite and eternal aspect of life that the person themselves is or is a part of. This person is seeking direct personal experience of this unity. So those are the 4 yogas. Gnana, which is the way to God through knowledge, tends to draw thinkers. Bhakti, the way through loving devotion for the more emotional people. Karma, the way to God through works, which generally draws very active people. And Raja is the way to God through psychophysical exercises, people who are of a more scientific bent. Now, it probably won't surprise you, and maybe you're even experiencing this right now, that people can be drawn to more than one path. But usually when a person starts knowing themselves more fully, they find that they're drawn to one more than another, one more strongly. And so that's what I'm going to ask you to do today. Even though you've only had a brief introduction, which of these are you most drawn to? So your first task today is to learn more about the yoga that you've chosen. And again, if you do have more than one yoga you're drawn to, just pick one of them for today. You'll find articles about most of those yogas in the textbook, but also in the 4 yogas folder you'll find several PDFs, one for each of the 4 yogas. Pick the one that is yours, read it, annotate it, and upload it to Schoology. Once you know a little bit more about your yoga, I want you to get together with other people in the class who've chosen the same yoga as the one they're most drawn to, and then do 3.7 yoga presentations together. You're going to create an activity that you will lead us through on Monday to help us experience the yoga that you're drawn to. You'll find the details about that in 3.7 yoga presentations. Thanks for playing, everybody, for joining in the Leela. I look forward to being with you on Monday, to participating in the activities that you are planning, to experience this yoga that you're most drawn to. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in a few days.